It's Tantra. I am walking Lily, obviously, in my backwoods that are untouched by humankind, except for clearing for fire. Some people know, but other people don't know. I've been having a really strange brain issue for about a week now. And I thought it'd be a great moment in our research around embodiment and embodiment and the unity of spirit and flesh, to have a conversation about this in real time when something's really happening. So some of the facts is I have half a thyroid because I had something called a Hürthle cell tumor carcinoma that was metastasized in 1997, and they removed it. And there was still another type of cancer called papillary cancer, which takes a long time to get to the brain and to affect people, so they didn't think it was a real problem. I could outlive it. Then 5 years ago, I had a fall and injured the left side of my brain in what they called a minor concussion, which actually did not really show up like a minor concussion. and then, of course, I wear glasses, and I have half a thyroid, and I have huge amounts of energy moving through me. That's the past history. So, in starting these cellular proliferation being my interest, the ability for the cells to take in information and use that information on behalf of life. It's life, because the more cells are proliferated, I have the ability to be alive. And when they die, they become the mulch of new cells rather than just becoming waste products. I really felt that and feel that we can experience a dynamic of existence that has been eluded us, that we've not had available to us for thousands of years. So when this brain pressure started, obviously it started in the injured part of my head to the left, in the temple and the frontal lobe, and by the time I got to Saturday, I was fundamentally, there was so much pressure I couldn't even function very well. Mostly I just felt like I needed to lie down and go to sleep, which of course I did. So the interesting thing is this thing that Electra talked about in Tools to Thrive, which is just kick butt good, about the etheric and abdominal brain, the embryonic memory, and how the embryonic memory sets a template of your design, and everything you think or don't think, or everything that you, what's the word I want? All your opinions and feelings that are so deeply important to you, they really come from that original template. So your whole life is a constant attempt to realign with that original template of the embryonic mind that doesn't have the history that you've been through. So why I'm bringing this up is that for many years now, really out of the creation exercises, I realized that one of my missions, why I sourced this avatar of this child, Diane Muriel Spoden, to investigate certain issues. One of the big issues was the unity of spirit and flesh. And could I make headway, and could I inspire others to make headway in the reunification of the incredible system of consciousness we have that is both physical and non-physical. So that would be the background that I generated my choices out of when this pressure started in my head. And the choices I made up until now, I want you to see the mother tree. Isn't she beautiful? She's just beautiful. So the phenomenon of occurrence that I've been in is, the background is more about getting to the parameters that allow our spirit and flesh to become one, and inside of that being committed to my own evolution, my own physiological, spiritual evolution. So the choices I made was, I hadn't had a full physical for 2 years, so I scheduled that, and I got in with someone within a week yesterday. I knew I wanted to get a sonogram from my thyroid, make sure there's not a Hursa cell tumor growing there, and to get an MRI so that I could make sure there's nothing they can detect in my brain, knowing full well that there's a lot in an MRI they can't detect in the brain. However, I exist because I'm committed to what has us exist as whole. And so I'm aware that if something's meant to be found, it will be found. And if it's information I don't need, then I don't need it. So I went and got my blood test last week on Thursday. And this week I went back and got my went through my physical and got everything lined up for my sonogram and for my what do you call it? My MRI. Sorry, I was tucking my sweater in. Temperature changes fast here. In between 7 and 8. There's our sun here. It says it's video only mode, so I'm assuming that there's no Facebook connection, and that connection will happen once I get back home. And for now, I am doing a roundabout of where I came from, the sun lighting in the trees, and where Lily and I are going. Another road I haven't taken. So when I, still with this interest in the fact I knew that for the first time ever, with all the basic work I'd been doing, what I call stabilizing systems, which I highly recommend, I don't think we should try to get well, because I don't think we know what well is, to be honest with you. I think that what's really important is that we try to get basic things that stabilize our systems, and then in between we handle the crises. Yeah, Jackie, I know I'm live. You want to let people know? I just decided I wanted to get this done, and then we'll attach it, ever how we need to attach it, when I'm done it being live. So when I went to my doctor yesterday, it turns out that the other thing I want to say is, when I had half my thyroid taken out, I basically was hypothyroid. Hypothyroidism was my condition that we had to monitor. And and that we've been monitoring that since 1997. But I had a feeling a few weeks ago, and working with this cellular proliferation activity I've been in, that I was taking too much thyroid, but I was scared to cut back on it because, I didn't know if I was telling myself the truth or not. So I went in for my blood test yesterday, and it turns out that my cholesterol is phenomenal. I mean, my triglycerides are amazing. All the things that would point to something really wrong in my system weren't present. That doesn't rule out things that that the blood doesn't pick up. So then, because you do the blood test with a fast, I asked if I could do a blood test with food in my body so that the test could pick up a more detailed relationship to sugar and what sugar was doing to my system. And then I asked to make sure I got what's called a contrast MRI, if I could, and a sonogram. And that's because I do research, because my me is really separate from this flesh. But this flesh is its job. It's my being's job to see what this earth suit needs to be able to carry me as a being. But the part that was fascinating and worthy of note, and there will be a part 2 to that after next Thursday when I have my sonogram and my MRI, whenever those tests come in. The thing that was worthy of note is that I had suddenly swung from hypothyroidism to hyperthyroidism, and that they actually needed to reduce my thyroid medication I was taking 150. They actually felt they needed to reduce it to 30, which is huge. And the doctor that was working with me is a PA, and she is under the care of my legit doctor, my main doctor, Ann Priest, who's a healer. She's an osteopath. She's an extraordinary healer, works with Saima in healing, and just extraordinary. So she came in and slapped me on the knee and said, "This is really funny. Your thyroid's healing. It's recovering itself. So, we're going to get it down to basic 30 milligram just in case there's another swing. But basically, you can consider it healed, which is impossible with half a thyroid, which is really important to note. And part of the condition I'd been experiencing, the pressure in the brain and the low-grade tension in my in my chest, could be contributed to that, but not completely. But because we don't know, as Ann and I know, I have an unusual system, which most of you have. That's why all of you have to figure out your systems just by getting certain baselines handled, which we talk about in doing the activations, and then things that I'm hoping to get really present for people as an option of what I would call cellular integration, and get people going on that as fast as possible. But the power of it is that now I'll go through the sonogram and I'll go through the MRI, and we'll see how my brain's doing, just so I have information that lets me make choices. And there's always this choice that nobody ever wants to make. It's called longevity. How long will I be vital? How long will I be alive? Because if you know you're going to live 2 weeks, you make very different decisions than if you're going to live 30 years. So getting the landscape of your biological field is really significant. And I don't think anybody ever asks the questions, well, how does this affect my well-being? How does this affect my longevity? What other possible things could happen to me that the weakness in this part of my system could elicit. But in an environment, in the language of creation, the Institute, and in the environment of the spirals with me, and in the activations, sweethearts, that's all I'm working on. I'm working on cellular integration with the high vibrational fields that constitute your being. Really significant. Everything we're doing, the talk with Deb on Wednesday, even being at the eclipse and the part of our connection with the cosmos that affects our brain, affects our perception of life in ways that we don't even expect. And to be with those powerful forces of an eclipse and work in the manner I work in as a magi and a mystic, to reset those fields of creation so that we are more aligned with the cosmos that includes everything, every form of life, and gives us a place to have residency and a place to heal and in whole from the larger systems of creation that we've been separated from. So we'll find out. I mean, there may still be something wrong. I still don't have full function. I am definitely better. And since I've cut back on the thyroid the last 3 days, I've actually felt better. There's still pressure in my head. But the power of navigating through your own intelligence and your own resonant field and your own connection to life is so much more powerful than trying to find an answer. It's trying to find a resonance, trying to get information and see what resonates with you and what doesn't. And that's why that Tools to Thrive yesterday that Electra did was so kick butt, because she really drove it home that we have an innate intelligence that lives in the matter of our body. And that innate intelligence is what we actually are designed to make choice from. We know if we came here to be ill or not. Some of us know we did. We know if we came here to die early. We know these things. It's about closing the gap on this deep cellular design that our embryonic mind and our abdominal brain imprints our system with. Don't you ever wonder where your choices come from? Don't you ever wonder why you make a decision that seems outrageous and certainly isn't based on your upbringing or a social norm? It's because you carry a template. You carry a template of your original design. I'm going to ask Jackie to upload this to YouTube and put it in the cellular restoration videos. And I know I've been talking a long time, but I just thought it was so important to capture the power of moving with someone who is consciously moving with the restoration of the spirit and the flesh and of matter and energy. And I've come a long way. I have come from sleeping for months at a time, for having only 4 or 5 hours that I could be awake and work. I came from severe dysfunction, and now I'm in a huge level of integration where my spirit is alive in my flesh, and I've reached my next horizon of inquiry, my next horizon of exploration. You hear a deer, but I don't see it. My next horizon of creation and what's mine to do. Mine's to be and mine to have. It's mine to do for us all, me included, is to work hard to get the vibrational integrity of the human system aligned with its unity of its wholeness. It's mine to be that also, to have that be the landscape of consciousness that I move in daily. And it's mine to have that for myself to the best level of integrative cellular reconciliation with its spirit that I can. All right, Jackie, since she's online, will upload it for us. I'll send it out on the Constant Contact also, and I will put it on, we'll put it on the cellular restoration part of YouTube.